Hello, hello, hello. I am Coach O, and this is my National Scouting Service podcast show. And we're going to be live tonight. We have Florida sensational running back, Mr. Ricardo Noel, that's going to be on our show tonight. You don't want to miss this. But before we get into our interview with Mr. Noel, this show is being broadcasted in MeekandZeke studios. So please be able to give us a shout out to MeekandZeke studio. You can find MeekandZeke on Twitter at MeekandZeke, also on Instagram at MeekandZeke, and on TikTok at MeekandZeke, as well as on YouTube. And with that being said, this show is being sponsored by Ink to the T t-shirts, as well as Uncontested Hoops. You can find Ink to the T on Instagram, as well as Uncontested Hoops on Instagram. And this show is being broadcasted live on Stationhead app radio. You have to download the Stationhead app and look for National Scouting. And we're also live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. With that being said, if you all tuned into my show last week, I had my high school picks. Some of them was good. Some of them was not so good. But I did finish 500. I didn't lose on all of my picks, but I didn't win on all of them as well. And with that being said, we're going to bring in our special guest tonight, who is Mr. Ricardo Noel. He's from Fort Myers, Florida. I hope I'm saying that right. He plays football. He's a senior, and you don't want to miss this guy. He's a very talented guy. So we're going to try to bring him on right now to be able to ask him some questions and see what he has going on, what his future is looking like, and how he's preparing for the season this season. With that being said, I'm going to try to bring in my guy, Mr. Noel. And there he is. Let's see if we can get him on the screen side by side. Mr. Noel, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, man? Ricardo, man, I'm glad to have you on our show tonight, man. And like I told you before, this is your show. I kind of introduced myself to this young man on Twitter, I believe. I introduced myself to him on Twitter. Got to see some of his highlights on Huddle, as well as on his own personal Twitter page, which I can see I have running through the screen as well. And I asked him for an interview. I know he's been very busy, probably with practice and all. He's an hour behind us being in Florida. So with that being said, man, I would like to be the first to say welcome to our show. I'm glad to have you, man. And with that being said, why don't you give our audience a little information about yourself, where you from, and we'll go from there.
First off, I want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be blasted out like this. But I play football. I'm a senior running back at Fort Myers High School down here in Fort Myers, Florida. And, well, I don't only play football. I'm a four-sport athlete, but football is the sport I would hope to go to college for. Because
okay, would you being you say you're a four-sport athlete?
This year, yes, sir.
Wow, man. With that being said, what other sports do you play?
I've been a 3-year varsity letterman for basketball, and a 2-year this will be my second year in weightlifting, and this will be my first year for track.
All right. All of them coincide with one another, man. So you have to lift weights. You got to stay in shape. You got to get bigger, faster, and stronger, as what coaches always say. Basketball can help you with your hand-eye coordination. And I don't know if can you really hoop, though?
Yeah, of course.
What position do you play?
I mostly play guard, the second-hand guard, just in case we need a second ball handler. But when it comes to basketball, I'm really like a 3-and-D guard. Like, I probably, if I'm not making them on offense, I can guarantee you my dude won't score.
Oh, so you a shutdown point guard?
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, now, far as in track, what events do you run in track?
I honestly prefer to do jumping. I prefer to do a long jump instead. Well, I prefer to do a long jump just because I won't during track season. I know you know that it's very hot,
right?
Going out in the track practice, running all those sprints, all this and that, you'll just end up melting pounds off. So I prefer to just jump.
Okay. Well, before we get into it, I told you this before, so I got to bring you a little trivia. Okay.
All right.
Now, with Florida and Texas, we always compete against one another, whether in sports or whatever the case may be. I have a couple of friends from Florida. I have some friends that I played college ball with that was from Florida, as well as when I played professional ball that was from Florida. Who do you think is ranked at the top with the most athletes from our states, mine being Texas and yours being Florida, in the NFL?
I haven't said Florida. Florida, like Florida, I don't know what it is. It's like I know Texas. Texas has some really good players, but like I just feel like Florida just like breeds like different caliber athletes. Like you
Mhm.
have like your Sammy Watkins, like your Deion Sanders, like born in. They've been raised here in Florida. There's one Deion over here went to North, Sammy went to South, and they just like. And I don't know if you know him, Jay Sean. He goes to Maryland currently, but
Mhm.
it just I just feel like Florida just gives birth to like different caliber athletes.
Well, I hate to have to admit this, but you are right. In the NFL, Florida have 11.7% of athletes that's from Florida. Um, Texas is number two at 10.1%, and Georgia is at 6.9%. I had to throw Georgia in there because one of the guys that's part owner of National Scouting Service is from Georgia. And if I didn't mention Georgia in some kind of way, we'd probably be fighting, not literally, but like having an argument. So you are right on that. Now, my next question is, what state do you think is ranked number one out of my beautiful state of Texas and Florida that have the most athletes that sign D1 scholarships?
Um, and you say out of Texas?
No, out of which one do you think Florida ranks number one that signs the most athletes to D1 scholarships to any school, or do you think it's Texas?
I'd probably say Texas because Texas is just like a lot bigger. It's like this is
Mhm.
Texas is like everything. They say everything's big in Texas, and like Texas is like massive. So like I just know like there's like floods of athletes that just come out of Texas.
Well, with that being said, you are wrong.
Oh, really?
Florida is number one again that signs the most high school athletes to a Division I school, followed by Georgia. I know my guy Morris Cannon, we call him the Mert, aka the Mert. He's going to be happy about that. And my beautiful state of Texas, the big state that you would assume that will put the more kids in school, we are at number 12.
Wow, that's kind of shocking.
Yeah, we are at number 12. Well, with that being said, man, we're going to get into it, and we're going to start off with some questions for you. Like I said, Mr. Ricardo, he's a outstanding running back. I'm gonna show his little highlight video when we get to the end of the show. But my first question to you is, what are some of the things that you was focused on doing this off season?
Um, mostly speed, mostly speed training because usually I like, humbly speaking, I like to say that I have very good acceleration, especially when it comes to breaking the line of scrimmage. But one thing that my coach made sure that I worked on was maintaining my top speed, like during like those long runs. Like when I would split one of the long ones for like 60 or longer yards, like you want me to keep my top speed for a good majority of it. So that was one of the things I worked on, and pass blocking and like
Pass blocking.
being more explosive. So like if there's a dude who come through the middle, I can like hold my own and just like hold him there, give my quarterback some time to make a read or just give him like an extra second.
Okay, now with that being said, you said to work on your speed, the acceleration speed, because on one of the videos, on one of your videos that I watched, you did have a long run, and it looked like you ran out of gas.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the year. That was the year previously. That was my junior year. Yeah.
Okay. See, it goes to show you. See, I've been watching film on you. And then when you said, what was the one you said? Your speed and your pass blocking.
Yeah.
So this past off season, was you in the weight room a lot more than you was last season?
Uh, I would like to say not as not in there as more, but the effort was definitely a lot more there because most of my maxes jumped from like a high percentage, like from like my squat. My squat almost jumped from it made a 90-pound jump while my
Wow.
bench had like a 15 to 20 pound increase.
And see, I'm glad you touched on that because I wanted to ask because on one of your videos, and artists, you can go check this guy out on it, and he's not lying. I saw that you had your squat. You probably got more than what you posted on there, but you at 430 now, 430 pounds.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Wow. How much do you weigh, man?
I weigh around 170,
170. How tall are you?
about 5'9" and a half, 5'10".
5'9" and a half, 5'10". All right. What is your bench press?
My bench press is 245.
245. What's your 40 time?
Around 4'6".
4'6". So we know we got to get that down, because from watching you on the film, your field speed, you moving. And sometimes, because and sometimes which I don't like from being a coach and a recruiter and all that. A lot of times, a lot of schools want to base everything off the 40, and I think a lot of times they miss out on athletes because of the 40. But your field play, I mean, you can ball, so there ain't no question about that. Now, oh man, not a problem. Now, my next question to you is, and I'm gonna put this on the screen. Who is you all's rivalry, and do you think you all can beat them this season? If y'all haven't did you beat your rivalry school last year?
Unfortunately, we didn't. But when it comes to Fort Myers, like the thing about Fort Myers down here, especially about Fort Myers High School, there's a North Fort Myers, there's a South Fort Myers, because there's like basically their names are based off their location. So like we're just regular Fort Myers, so we're like in like the central part of like Fort Myers, and we're the oldest school around. Like our school's been around since 1911. So like our over 100 years old. It's rich in history. So like coming with that comes with a lot of football being played around here. So it's like when it comes to our rivalry games, it's like you would see it like a bunch of old greenies, former greenies will just come and pack the stands. Like you can't really just like go anywhere around in this area without finding a greenie graduate. And we just feel like when it comes to those rivalry games, we really have to play like to a different caliber.
Okay, now when you saying greenery, you gotta school me and educate me on that. Now, what do you mean by greenery?
Oh, the greenies. That's all.
Okay. Well, I know because like your school is the Wave, right?
Green Wave.
Green Wave. Okay, all right. No disrespect. I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting everything right. And then I did have that in my notes. I guess I jumped the gun before that, but it does. Y'all all called the Green Wave football. Now, let's get into this. Like I had looked up some of you all stats, and you was the main focus on the stat. Now I see that you're ranked number 5 out of 2 games. I don't think they put the 3rd game up, so you probably moved up on that. Your average per carry was 3 yards per carry, which is good, and that's off of 24 attempts. Now, with what I have, and y'all already played 3 games, what are you doing differently to make these numbers go up, to move up in the ranking, or what is y'all offensive coordinator is trying to do differently to get you up in the rank? So is he going to give you more carries? Is y'all offense based off of a run game? Is it based off a pass game, or is it 50-50?
Okay, so traditionally, Fort Myers has always been like a real like run heavy team. Like a good offense, majority of the team that we would run would be the wing T offense, which is like where you would just put a fullback and 2 wings, and you would just either run it to either side or up the middle. But since due to our line being a little bit younger up in the front, like they'd like to give me the ball in different ways, whether it was be a pass or just like obviously I will run up in the middle or run towards the outside when it comes to those plays, but for the most part, they're trying to find different ways to get me the ball.
And far as your offensive game, now you said you started working on your speed and your pass blocking. What about your catching ability? Can you catch the ball? Do they put you in the slide, or do they put you outside sometimes to run routes?
I can, but just the offense that we traditionally run just doesn't require it. But we'll see if they'll end up opening it up.
And the reason why I asked, because myself, when I played high school ball years ago, I was a running back, but my hands was pretty good. But when I got recruited to go to school, they recruited me to be a receiver. And the reason why I asked that, because it may be schools that want your talent, but they probably want to put you at a slot receiver because you probably can block fairly well and be able to catch the ball fairly well. So that's an option that you probably can look at too. I know y'all offense is kind of based around, like you said, you running the ball sometimes in the inside or stretching the field. But I think if they start getting you that ball in that perimeter and stuff like that, that probably will open up a lot more doors as well. Now, my next question is, I kind of saw on your page, how is your recruiting process going? Do you have any schools looking at you right now and contacting you right now?
Very, very slow. To be real, I honestly don't know if I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, when we get off this show, man, I'm going to hit you up because I will work with you and help you on that to try to get you on the recruiting scene a lot broader. So don't get up and down about that. Things will work itself out. Now, what I want to get into now is let's talk academics. A lot of times you find a lot of athletes, they are very good athletes, but they're not doing what they need to be doing in the classroom. They're not getting the grades. And then a lot of times they may find themselves blaming the coaches or the teachers and stuff like that. Now, with the academics as a student athlete, is in academics important to you more important to you than sports, or is sports more important to you than academics?
To me, it's always been academics first, because the whole point about being a student athlete is that the student part comes first. And growing up, my parents always made sure that I had good grades, and they would constantly check on my grades, whether they were good or bad. So, for the most part, one of the things I've always done is trying to keep my grades up.
Okay, and you have to do that because, like you say, you want to be able to go on to the next level and play collegiate sports. Whether it's in track, you may get a scholarship in track, a half scholarship in track. You may get a half scholarship in football, which would still be a full scholarship, or you may get a full scholarship in track. Maybe not football. You may get a full scholarship in football and maybe not track. But hopefully, you get something in both, and you can still be able to pursue your dreams and be able to continue to play football or run track if that's what you choose to do. Now, we already know that academics is important. You already said that your parents would check on your grades, whether they was good or bad. Hopefully, they are continuing to be good because this is your senior year. Now, my question to you is, as a student athlete, do you know what your GPA is?
Yes.
What is it?
My GPA right now is around a 3.56 the last time I checked it.
Wow, that's good, man. See, right there, see, that's what I'm saying. Now, the academics can carry you along just right there, because there's some schools out there that probably don't offer athletic scholarships, but they may offer academic scholarships. So you're already on the right course of doing that. Do you know what your class ranking is?
I don't. Not at the moment, no.
Don't know that? So you probably want to find that out, man, because that's going to be real important in your recruiting process. But we're going to talk about that when we get off the show, and we're going to make sure we get all of that handled. And so the next time you are asked that question, whether it's by a coach or a university or a college, you will know these things, because these are important things that all student athletes need to know. My next question to you is, have you taken the SAT or the ACT yet?
I have taken the ACT, and I've taken also taking the PSAT, but I know that doesn't count.
Well, it gets you prepared for it. So I mean, it counts. It counts in some shape or form. So don't say it don't count, because then you'll know where you're at. Then you know what you need to do and where you need to improve at. Now, what you taking the I always tell student athletes to always take both, because and then if you can, to try to take them both twice, because now schools, they can combine the scores and say, hey, you don't have to take this part of the SAT or the ACT, but you need to take this part. Now, when I was in school, I took the SAT because it was supposed to be a lot simpler than the ACT. But now I hear kids say that they like the ACT better than the SAT. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I said, yeah, it's flipped now. The ACT is a lot simpler than the SAT.
See, kids always tell me that. Well, when you took the SAT first, right?
Yes, I took that around. I'm pretty sure I took the PSAT my sophomore year.
Did you do pretty good on that?
I don't recall my score. I know my score for my ACT because that's the score I took. That's the test I took most recently.
Okay. See, then again, we need to know those scores, because then that way, in the recruiting process, we'll know if you're a qualifier or not a qualifier. And a qualifier is those that's eligible to go to any Division I schools because of the ACT scores. And then with your GPA, sometimes depending on what your GPA is, it will help with the ACT or the ACT, rather with your scores, whether you have to have a high score or not. My next question to you is, academics is important. You already touched on that. What is your favorite subject?
English.
English?
Yeah.
Why English?
Mostly because, okay, I have this thing when it comes to math. Like, math is like an okay subject for me, but I never really enjoyed math, because when it comes to math, you have to know all the steps that you're doing. You need to do them in all the right order, and then you need to get to one specific answer. But when it comes to English, you can read in the text, you can scan for answers. There's a bunch of different ways you can find the answer in English. But if you don't know exactly what you're doing in math, it won't lead you to the right answer. Like you can get something close to one of the answers, but like
Hey, I'm gonna have to side with you on that, man, because math was my work and still is my worst subject. My wife had to help me a lot. I'm back in school because one of the things that it kind of bothered me for years, you know, I felt like a hypocrite because I was getting all these kids in school, but I didn't have a degree. So I kept telling my wife that I wanted to go back to school, which she ended up dropping me off to school and picking me up to make sure that I go. So I did get my associates, and now I'm working on my bachelor's to get my bachelor's degree, and I should be graduating in December. So I'm working on that. But math is my worst subject, man. I couldn't stand. I still can't stand it. But I know you have to have it, and you're right. You have to have all those steps in line to be able to get to the right answer. Because if you miss one little step, you mess up everything.
throws everything off.
Right. So I'm with you on that one, brother. I enjoyed school, but math wasn't one of the subjects that I enjoyed. Now, my next question to you is, since we're still into the academics, what school would you like to attend academically and athletically, or with both schools with a good athletic program and a good academic program?
A school that I researched a good amount into is probably UCF or USF because not only I learned, well, because in school they frequently give you projects like on whether like especially if you're at the age now to do research on like where do you want to go or like what do you want to do, and like those were just schools that always popped up, and I ended up going to camp there. I ended up going to both camps there during the summer, and I just really just like the atmosphere there athletically wise.
Okay. Well, you know, ain't nothing wrong with Texas, man. There's probably a lot of Texas schools down here that would like to have you as a student athlete as well. So don't count us out, man.
Oh well.
All right. Now, my next question to you is, do you think it's the coach's responsibility in helping athletes get recruited, or the parents, or both?
I feel like it's both. I feel like it's like a team effort. That's how like the coaches will install a game plan to the players and just have them and expect them to execute when it comes to the game. I just feel like you can be a team there. You can be a team in this too.
Hey, I definitely agree with you because a lot of times that I used to run into, you know, some parents think that, oh, it's the coach's responsibility. Why he didn't get my kid in school. And I understand some parents don't even know what the recruiting process is or the deals that or the things they need to do to make sure that their kids are taking the SAT or the ACT or the pre-SAT to prepare for those two tests. And like the things we touched on earlier, knowing what their kid GPA is, knowing what their kid class ranking is, to see if they are a qualifier or even able to get into the schools that a lot of student athletes have dreams of going to. Far as the coaches, I know the coaches have a lot going on throughout the season. I'm not making excuses for them, but it is the parents' effort as well. Now, with that being said, I also saw on your Twitter page, what camps did you attend, and was it important for you to go to the camps?
I went to, as I stated, I went to USF, UCF, and I went to the Florida camp this summer.
Now, how important is that is to be able to go to a camp? Do you think that's important because you need to be seen by these college coaches? Because what I tell people all the time and parents, a lot of times these schools don't know anything about your kid. So the kid needs to go to these camps so they can get on the radar and on the map of these schools so they can have some type of interest in the student athlete. So do you
That's
think it's important to go to the camps?
that's the exact reason why we went is because there's no way at at some point you can hope these colleges like reach out to you, but like at some point you have to just take matters into your own hand and get the ball rolling yourself. So like I feel like going to camp was just like a good way to do that because whether or not the coaches would be interested in you or not, like if it's camp season, the one thing they'll probably do is recommend you to come to the camp. So that's the reason why we went in the first place.
Very good, man. I hope you continue to go to the camps because that is very important because student athletes have to get to these camps. And I know sometimes it's probably difficult for parents to be able to pay to go to the camps. But a lot of times if athletes reach out to these schools and to these coaches, sometimes they'll waive the fee, or they may be in a location that they have in the camp, or they going to see a kid and they may want to work out the kid when they come down there. So I think the camps is important, as well as getting in contact with these coaches as well. Now, far as your recruiting, what else are you doing to be marketable on the recruiting scene?
If it's not Twitter, I'm usually on NCSA's recruiting app that I got recently downloaded, and it's just something I just use to stay active.
Okay. Now, that was my last question for you, but then I have some questions in regards to you all's football season. Y'all first 2 games, I think y'all started off 0-2, and y'all just won y'all last game.
Yeah.
What are y'all doing, or what do you think as a team you all are doing different from the start of the first 2 games?
Everybody's more in tune, as I feel like you can say. When it comes to the field, they're just like making little mistakes. Everybody's not ready to snap on or just like bite one dude's head off. They're encouraging him to keep his head up and just look forward to the next play.
All right. Now, on MaxPreps, because they go off the points that's being scored by high school teams. Y'all next game is on September the 16th against Dunbar. Is that correct? Against Dunbar. Dunbar is 3-0.
Rivalry game.
Right. So that's a rivalry game. Are they the powerhouse in you all's district, or it's another school that's the powerhouse in you all's district?
If it's not us, then it's probably them.
So okay, now y'all are 1-2, and they 3-0.
Yes, sir.
MaxPrep has the prediction that you all will fall to Dunbar 28-13. What's your take on that?
That's literally, I've been on this varsity roster for 3 years now, and it's every year they've had them over us. Every year, it's really nothing new. Like
okay.
even the previous game we just won, the team forfeited right when the third quarter begun because the lightning alarm went off, and when the lightning went off, they just immediately just called the game. So the score is probably going to be a lot worse than it already was. But when it came to that, they had us losing to that team because we were already 0-2. We played a really good team, a really good and scrappy team in North Fort Myers, which is another rivalry game. And then we played nationally ranked St. Thomas Aquinas, and we lost to them too. So because we were already 0-2, they had us losing to them too. But we are, people won't always be on your side, and we all know what we can do. And just when the tour starts going and the ball starts rolling, we just want everybody to stay where they're at. They weren't greenies in the beginning; they can just stay where they're at when we're on the roll.
Man, I like that attitude, brother, and I think that's going to take y'all a long way. And if they have the leadership like somebody like yourself and believe in one another, you can't worry about what we always say the naysayers or what the people say, because they're going to always have something to say, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. But if all you guys in that locker room stick together, good things will come. Now, another question I had to ask you, and I meant to ask this when I was talking to you about you all's schedule and what you was doing in football to improve. I see that y'all have 3 quarterbacks in the top 4. Y'all use 3 quarterbacks?
Mostly, no. We really traditionally just use 1.
Okay, because they have, when I looked at it on MaxPreps, and I ain't saying all the stats on MaxPreps is always right. Big shout out to MaxPrep, but they had 3 of y'all quarterbacks in the top 4.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that, because we only use 1.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's a typo or that's an error, because I definitely did see that. Well, man, we coming to the end of the show. Is there any shout outs that you would like to give? And be sure you give people your information as far as your social media handles so they can be able to get in contact with you and follow you as well. Because I know I'm stay in contact with you and see how your season is going as well. But with that being said, go ahead and give your shouts out and your handles to anybody that's out here listening, and to any scouts and recruits that's looking for an outstanding running back like yourself.
My Twitter is Ricardo Noel 03, RICARDO NOEL 03, and you can just find me on Huddle just by searching my name, Ricardo Noel. And I'd like to thank my teammates and my O-line.
All right. Hey, one other thing. Are you originally from Florida? Because I see that flag in the back.
Oh yeah. No, I'm from Florida. It's just like all my people. We're all Haitian. So, but
Oh, okay.
I was like my brothers and my sisters. We're all born here.
All right. Hey, man, Ricardo, I really appreciate it, man. I look for you to be doing some great things in the future. Hopefully we can do another show again. I hope all your family and friends enjoy the show. You have something that you can always go back and look at. And this show is being broadcasted on YouTube Live under National Scouting Service, as well as on Instagram under National Scouting. We also live on our Stationhead app radio, which is National Scouting. You have to download the Stationhead app to be able to tune into the station. We're also on TikTok, National Scouting Service. We're on YouTube. We're on all the social media outlets. You can't miss us. Hey, I asked you to send me 4 of your top artists because I wanted to close out our show on our podcast radio station with your music, and then something you can always go back and listen to. But you never got that to me, so be sure you email that to me so I can get that to you, because it'll always be on our podcast radio station, and it'll probably be something that you want to do your pregame warm-ups to.
All right.
Well, with that being said, that's our show. We're going to close with Mr. Noel's highlight video along with our credits. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. I enjoyed speaking with you, Ricardo. Good luck on the season, man. Y'all get that win on Friday. I'm going to be checking it out. Get them stats up. I want to see you at number 1 or number 2, not number 5. You got to move up in the rankings. And I'll get with you also as on with the recruiting as well, man. You take care. God bless, man. And I really appreciate you having you on my show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Elbows down.